The cell was cold. The walls were made of black stone that never warmed, no matter how many suns rose and fell outside. For 13 long years, a young alien girl had lived inside that cage. She had no name anymore. The Baron, her master, had taken even that from her. To him, she was only the little pet. Every day began the same. The heavy iron door creaked open. Guards with sharp eyes and sharper weapons brought food, if it could be called food. A bowl of gray paste, enough to keep her alive but never enough to make her strong. After that silence, hours of silence, she would sit against the wall, knees to her chest, watching dust fall like tiny stars in the dim light. She had been a prisoner since she was a child. Her earliest memories were of laughter, of her parents' voices, of a home filled with light. But those memories were fading now, like smoke blown away by the wind. What she remembered most clearly was the day the Baron came. His ship landed like a thunderclap. His soldiers tore through her village, and when it was over, she was taken. She was small, helpless. The Baron liked that. 13 years. 13 years of chains. The girl's heart beat softly in her chest, almost like it was afraid to keep her alive. Sometimes she wondered if she had already died long ago, and this prison was her ghost's world. But then she would hear the Baron's voice, deep and cruel, echoing down the stone corridors. "My little pet still lives," he would say. "She will live until I grow bored." The Baron was never bored. Not yet. One night, as the girl lay curled on the hard floor, she heard something different. The sound of boots. Not the slow, lazy steps of guards she had known for years, but heavy, angry stomps. She rose to her knees, pressing her ear to the crack of the door. Voices carried through the corridor. "He is not like the others," one guard said. "He fights even in chains." "Let him fight," another guard laughed. "The Baron enjoys breaking strong ones." The girl's eyes widened. Someone new? It had been years since any prisoner arrived. Most who came never stayed long. They died quickly in the Baron's games. But this voice, this talk of fighting, it stirred something inside her. Something she thought had died long ago. Hope. The next day, when her door opened for food, she saw him. Just for a moment. Across the hall, another cell. Inside, a figure unlike any she had seen before. He was not like the Baron's kind, nor like her own people. His skin was strange, his eyes sharp. He was tall, even in chains. And though he was hurt, bruises on his face, blood on his arms, he stood. He did not bow his head. A human. The guards shoved him into his cell, laughing as they locked the door. He spat blood on the floor and glared back at them. The girl's breath caught in her throat. No one ever looked at the guards like that. Not after the Baron had touched them. She wanted to speak. To call out. But fear chained her tongue. What if he was like the others? What if he broke too? That night, when the halls were quiet, she risked a whisper. Her voice cracked from disuse. "Who are you?" The figure in the shadows turned. For a long moment, he said nothing. Then in a low voice, he answered. "A man, a prisoner." "Like you," the girl shivered. His words were simple, but they carried strength. Not the strength of muscle alone, but of spirit. She had not heard such a voice in 13 years. "Don't speak," he warned. "The walls have ears. The Baron likes to listen." She nodded, though he could not see her in the dark. She pressed her back against the cold stone, her heart racing. For the first time in so many years, she was not alone. Days passed. The human did not break. The guards beat him, but he stood. They mocked him, but he glared. The Baron himself came to see him once, amused by his defiance. "You will bow," the Baron promised, his voice like iron. "All bow to me in the end." The human only smiled, a thin, bloody smile. "Not me." The girl, hidden in her cell, felt her chest tighten. She had forgotten what defiance looked like. She had forgotten what courage was. And now it was right across the hall. One evening, as the guards dragged the human back from another round of punishment, he stumbled. The girl gasped softly. Without thinking, she whispered through the bars, "Why do you fight?" "You cannot win." The human lifted his head. His eyes found hers in the shadows. For a moment, the prison disappeared. For a moment, she felt seen. "I fight," he said, "because I must, and one day I will break these chains." The girl's hands shook. His words were madness. No one escaped the Baron, not in 13 years. But still, his voice lit a spark inside her. That night she lay awake, staring at the dark ceiling. The Baron still ruled. The chains still held. But now, there was something new inside her chest. Something dangerous. Something called hope. And hope, in the Baron's prison, was a weapon. The Baron's prison was not built for mercy. It was built for fear. Every stone in its walls carried the cries of broken prisoners. But one prisoner had not broken. He was human. The guards did not know what world he came from. They only knew he fought them when they captured him. He fought with his fists, with his teeth, with anything he could use. Even in chains, he had struck down 2 soldiers before they forced him to his knees. That memory still made the guards laugh as they passed his cell. The alien girl across the hall had seen many prisoners come and go. Some cried. Some begged. Some were silent, waiting for death. None of them had stood tall the way this human did. From her dark corner, she studied him. He carried pain on his body, cuts, bruises, wounds, but his spirit looked untouched. His eyes burned like fire. When the Baron visited, the human did not bow. When guards threatened, he did not tremble. The girl could not understand it. 13 years had taught her that fear was stronger than hope. But this man was different. One night, when the prison was hushed, she whispered again, "Why do you not give up?" The human was lying on the stone floor, chest rising and falling slowly. His breath was heavy, but when he heard her voice, he opened his eyes. "Because giving up means he wins," he answered. His voice was tired but steady. The girl hugged her knees. "He always wins." The human turned his head toward her. Even in the darkness, she felt his gaze. "Not forever," he said. She fell silent, her heart beating fast. No one had ever spoken like this in front of the Baron. His power was absolute. His reach was endless. The very idea of defiance was like playing with fire. Yet here was a man who believed it. The next day, the Baron came. His heavy cloak dragged across the floor as he walked into the hall. His face was pale, his eyes sharp like blades. The guards bowed low, but the human only leaned against the bars of his cell, arms crossed. "My new toy," the Baron said, his voice slow, cold. "You amuse me." The human did not answer. "You will break like all the others," the Baron continued. "Some in days, some in months. But all break. Even the girl." He pointed to the alien girl's cell. "She was strong once. Now she is nothing. I made her nothing." The human's jaw tightened. His voice cut through the silence like a blade. "She is still alive." "That means you failed," the guards gasped. No one spoke to the Baron like that. The Baron's smile faded. His eyes narrowed, and for a moment the air grew colder. "You will regret those words," the Baron hissed. He motioned to the guards. "Take him. Remind him who holds the chains." They dragged the human from the cell. He did not resist, but as they pulled him down the corridor, he turned his head toward the girl. Just for a second, his eyes met hers, and in that look, he gave her something no one else had ever given: a promise. Hours later, the guards threw him back into the cell. His face was bloodied, his body beaten, but his eyes still burned. The girl rushed to the bars, her voice low. "Why do you fight him?" "You will die." The human coughed, wiped blood from his mouth, and grinned weakly. "Maybe, but I'd rather die fighting than live kneeling." The girl trembled. His words felt like fire against the ice in her chest. For so many years she had only survived. She had bent, obeyed, bowed. It was the only way to live. But this human, he would not bend. And somehow he still lived. In the days that followed, the two spoke more. Always in whispers, always careful. She told him of her years in the prison, how she had forgotten the sound of her parents' voices. He listened, his eyes softening. In return, he spoke of his people, of Earth, of skies so blue they looked endless, of oceans that stretched farther than the eye could see. The girl closed her eyes and tried to imagine it. For the first time in 13 years, she dreamed of a world beyond stone walls. But danger grew. The Baron was not blind. He noticed the girl's eyes no longer empty, her posture less broken. He noticed the way she looked toward the human cell. One evening he walked the hall, his steps echoing like drums. He stopped between their cells, his lips curling into a cruel smile. "My pets whisper when they think I cannot hear," the Baron said. His voice was quiet, more terrifying than a shout. "Do you think I do not notice?" The girl froze. Her heart pounded like a trapped bird. The human stepped forward. "Leave her out of this. She has done nothing." The Baron's laugh filled the corridor. And yet she looks at you with eyes that should be dead. You have given her something dangerous. He leaned closer, his breath cold. Hope. He turned to the guards. Take the girl. Teach her what happens when my pets forget their place. The girl's blood turned to ice. The guards unlocked her cell. Their hands clamped on her arms. She struggled weakly, terror clawing at her chest. The human gripped the bars of his cell until his knuckles turned white. Stop, she's just a child. The Baron ignored him. His smile grew wider. Perhaps when she screams, you will remember where you are. No one escapes me. Not the girl, not you, not anyone. As the guards dragged her away, the girl looked back at the human. For the first time, she did not see just fire in his eyes. She saw fury. Fury against the chains. Fury against the Baron. Fury that might one day shatter them all. And in that fury, she felt something awaken in her chest. Something that had been buried for 13 years. Not just fear, not just survival, but the beginning of rebellion. The cell was darker that night. The alien girl lay on the floor, her small body trembling after the punishment. Her arms were bruised, her face pale, but she was still alive. The guards had laughed as they threw her back into the cage. To them, she was nothing. To the Baron, she was less than nothing. A reminder that he owned lives. The human watched her from across the hall. His hands were wrapped around the bars so tightly his skin had turned raw. He had shouted when they dragged her away. He had cursed when he heard her cries echo through the corridors. And now, as she lay silent, he felt a fire burning hotter than the pain in his own wounds. You are still here, he whispered. The girl lifted her head. Her voice was hoarse. For now. You are stronger than you think, she shook her head. I am weak. I have always been weak. That is why he keeps me alive, because I am no threat, because I am already broken. The human's eyes narrowed. His voice cut through the silence like steel. You are not broken. If you were broken, you would not still breathe. The girl turned her face to the wall. She wanted to believe him, but the chains around her wrists told a different story. 13 years of captivity had taught her that resistance only led to pain. But when she closed her eyes, she remembered his face when the Baron mocked them both. His fury, his defiance. It had done something to her heart. Something dangerous. For the first time, she wanted to believe. The days that followed were heavy with silence. The Baron's suspicion grew. Guards lingered longer in the hallways. Their laughter was crueler, their eyes sharper. The girl knew the Baron was waiting for them to make a mistake. But still, she whispered. At night, when the guards' footsteps faded, she leaned close to the bars and let her voice escape, fragile but steady. Tell me again about your world. The human smiled in the dark. His teeth were chipped, his lips swollen from beatings, but his voice carried warmth. The sky is blue. So blue that it hurts your eyes if you stare too long. Birds fly across it free. They have wings, but sometimes I think they fly because they believe they can. The girl closed her eyes. Blue sky, birds, freedom. These words were treasures, brighter than any jewel. And the sea, he continued. It is endless. Water stretching farther than you can see. It roars like thunder, but when you listen closely, it sings. The girl's lips parted. Sings? Yes, he said. Like a mother's voice, calming and strong. If you ever stand by the sea, you feel small, but not afraid. Small in a way that makes you feel alive. Her chest ached. She had never seen such things. Her world before the Baron was only a blur, but through his words she began to dream again. And with the dream came something else. Rebellion. One evening, while the guards played their cruel games in the courtyard, the human leaned close to his bars and spoke in a low voice. This prison has weaknesses. The girl's eyes widened. No one escapes. That is what he wants you to think, the human said. But I have watched. The guards grow careless. The locks are old. The Baron is arrogant. He believes his fear is stronger than chains. Her heart pounded. You plan to escape? His gaze was sharp. Not plan, promise. The girl shook her head. It cannot be done. The last prisoner who tried, they burned him alive. I am not him. The human's voice was quiet but steady. I have escaped worse cages than this. The girl wanted to argue, but the words died in her throat. His eyes burned too fiercely. And for the first time in 13 years, she thought of something impossible. Freedom. But the Baron was always watching. That night, as the torches burned low, his voice echoed in the corridor. My little pets whisper when they think I cannot hear. The girl froze. The Baron stepped from the shadows, his cloak dragging on the floor. His eyes glowed with cruel delight. You speak of skies, of seas, of escape. He leaned close to the bars of her cell.
Do you think hope can save you?
Her throat closed. She wanted to deny it, to beg forgiveness, but her voice failed. The Baron's gaze shifted to the human. And you, stranger from a forgotten world. You dare infect my pet with your rebellion. You dare light fire where I built ashes. The human did not flinch. She is not your pet. The Baron's smile vanished. The air grew colder. Then she is yours? The human's jaw tightened. She is hers. The Baron's laughter shook the walls. Ah, such boldness, very well. If you love freedom so much, I shall give you a chance to taste it. He turned to the guards. Prepare the arena. The girl's blood ran cold. She knew the arena. She had seen prisoners taken there. None had returned. It was where the Baron's amusement lived, where death was a game. No, she whispered, her hands shaking against the bars. The Baron's eyes gleamed with delight. If your human friend survives, perhaps he earns another day of life. If not, well, I imagine his screams will teach you not to dream again. The guards dragged the human away. His chains clinked, his step steady. He did not look back at her, but she saw the fire in his stride. The girl pressed her forehead against the bars, tears burning her eyes. She had begged for survival all her life. But now, for the first time, she prayed for victory. The arena was carved from black stone, wide and open like a pit in the middle of the Baron's fortress. Torches burned along the walls, their light flickering against the jagged rocks. High above, balconies curved in a circle. On those balconies sat the Baron and his guards, ready to watch. The girl had never seen the arena before. The guards forced her to the edge, chains around her wrists. Watch, they hissed. See how your hero dies. Her knees trembled as she looked down. The ground below was stained dark. Too many had bled here before. The Baron sat on a throne of steel, his cloak spread around him like wings. His voice boomed across the arena. Tonight we are entertained. A new prisoner has defied me. He thinks he cannot break. Let us test him. The human stood in the center of the pit. His hands were chained, but his back was straight. His face was bruised, but his eyes burned. The girl's heart pounded as she watched him. She wanted to scream for him to run, to hide, but there was nowhere to go. A gate opened with a loud crash. From the shadows came a beast. It was huge, skin like armor, claws long as blades, eyes red with hunger. The crowd of guards cheered. The Baron raised a hand. If you survive, you live another day. If you fail, your bones will join the rest. The human's chains dropped with a clatter. For a heartbeat, the arena went silent. Then the beast roared. The fight began. The beast lunged, its claws slicing the air. The human rolled aside, the ground shaking as the claws slammed into stone. Dust rose around him, but he moved fast. His fist struck the beast's hide, but it was like punching iron. The girl bit her lip so hard she tasted blood. The guards laughed from above. He cannot win. The human staggered back, breathing hard. The beast turned, growling. Its tail lashed, striking his ribs. He fell to the ground, coughing. The Baron's smile widened. So much for defiance, but the human pushed himself up. Slowly, painfully, he stood again. Not done yet, he muttered. The beast charged. The human waited until the last second, then dove to the side. The beast smashed into the wall, stone cracking under the force. Dust and rock rained down. The human climbed onto its back, arms wrapping around its thick neck. He squeezed, teeth gritted. The beast roared and thrashed. It slammed him against the wall. His body shook with the impact, but he held on. Again and again, the beast crashed him into stone. The girl covered her mouth, tears streaming down her face. Please, please don't die. With one final heave, the human twisted, his arms locked tight. The beast's roar turned into a choking gasp. Then, with a sickening crack, the massive body collapsed. Silence. For a moment, no one moved. The human stood on shaking legs, chest heaving, blood running from cuts across his arms and face. Then he raised his head, staring up at the Baron. The guards erupted into shouts, some angry, some shocked. The Baron's smile was gone. His eyes glowed with fury. The girl felt her knees weaken. He had won. Against all odds, he had won. For the first time in 13 years, her heart leapt. But victory was not enough. The Baron rose from his throne, his cloak rippling like a storm. You think this means you are free? His voice cut through the cheers. No one defies me. No one survives without my will. He motioned to the guards. Bring out the next. Another gate creaked open. This time it was not a beast that stepped out. It was a soldier, one of the Baron's champions. Armored from head to toe, blade gleaming in the torchlight. The crowd cheered louder. The girl gasped. The human was already hurt, his body barely standing. To face another opponent now, it was madness. The Baron's voice thundered. Fight again, human. Fight until nothing is left of you. The soldier charged. Metal clashed against stone as the human ducked under the blade. Sparks flew. He struck back with his fists, but steel was stronger than bone. His knuckles split open. He dodged again, but the sword sliced across his arm. Blood sprayed. The girl screamed, "Stop! You'll kill him!" The Baron's cold eyes turned toward her. That is the point. The soldier pressed forward, each strike faster than the last. The human staggered, his breath shallow. The blade rose high for the killing blow. The girl's heart froze. She shut her eyes, but instead of silence, she heard a shout. The human's voice raw and fierce. He grabbed the soldier's wrist before the blade could fall. With a roar, he twisted, forcing the sword aside. His fist slammed into the soldier's helmet once, twice again. The soldier stumbled. The human ripped the blade from his hands. Now the human stood armed, bloodied and burning with rage. He raised the sword high, pointing it toward the Baron. The arena went silent again. The girl's breath caught in her throat. The human's voice rang out. You call this strength? This is nothing. I will not kneel. The Baron's face twisted. For the first time, anger cracked his perfect mask. His voice was a storm. Then you will die screaming. He raised his hand. The gates thundered open on all sides. Beasts, soldiers, more than the human could ever fight. The girl clutched the bars of her cage, her chest tight with terror. He had survived the beast. He had stolen victory from the soldier, but now the entire arena was coming for him. And still, he raised the sword. The arena roared like thunder. Gates slammed open one after another. From the shadows came soldiers in black armor, their blades glinting. Behind them, beasts crawled forward, massive jaws dripping with saliva, claws scraping against stone. The girl gripped the bars of her cage so tightly her knuckles turned white. Her heart pounded like a drum. One human, already wounded, already bloodied, stood alone in the center. Around him, death closed in. Above, the Baron leaned forward on his throne. His smile was wide, cruel, hungry. Now, he declared, let us watch hope die. The soldiers advanced first, shields raised. The beasts circled, growling. Dust rose from the ground as their feet struck stone. The human raised the stolen sword. His arm trembled, but his eyes blazed. The first soldier lunged. Steel clashed with steel as the human blocked. Sparks flew. He twisted, driving the sword into a gap in the soldier's armor. A cry rang out, and the man fell. Another soldier rushed in. The human spun, the blade slashing across the air. His movements were not perfect. He staggered, his breath heavy, but every strike carried desperate strength. A beast leapt. Its jaws snapped inches from his shoulder. He dropped to one knee, shoving the sword upward. The blade cut deep into its throat. The beast fell, choking, blood dark against stone. The crowd gasped. The girl's chest tightened. For a moment, she believed he might survive. But then more came. Too many. The soldiers pressed together, shields slamming against him. The human stumbled back, his body colliding with the cracked wall of the arena. Blades slashed at him. He parried one, dodged another, but a third cut deep into his side. He gritted his teeth, refusing to fall. Another beast charged. He barely rolled aside as its claws tore through the wall where he had stood. Pain burned across his ribs, but still he stood. He struck again. And again. Each swing slower, weaker. Blood dripped down his arm, mixing with the dust. His breath came in ragged gasps. From above, the Baron laughed. Look at him struggle. A candle against a storm. The girl's voice cracked as she screamed. Stop, please stop. Her plea only made the Baron's smile widen. Watch closely, little pet. See how your hope is crushed. But the human did not fall. With a roar, he slammed his shoulder into a soldier's shield, knocking the man off balance. His blade cut across another's leg, sending him to the ground. A beast lunged again. He rolled beneath it, stabbing upward. The blade pierced its heart. The arena shook with the sound of the dying creature. The human stumbled back, chest heaving, blood covering his body. Still he raised his sword. Still he refused to kneel. The girl's heart raced. Every strike, every movement felt like a miracle. But miracles cannot last forever. The soldiers surrounded him. 3 blades came down at once. He blocked one, dodged another, but the third cut across his shoulder. He cried out in pain, dropping to one knee. The beast growled, circling closer. The girl pressed her forehead to the bars, tears running down her face. "Please," she whispered, don't die, please." The human lifted his head. His eyes found hers, even across the chaos. Blood streamed down his face, but in his gaze there was no fear, only fire. He forced himself to stand again. "Not yet," he growled. With one last surge, he swung the sword in a wide arc. Steel clashed, flesh tore. A soldier fell, then another. Dust rose around him as the beasts roared. The arena echoed with the clash of steel, the cries of pain, the roar of the crowd. The Baron's smile finally began to fade. He leaned forward, eyes narrowing. This was not how the game was supposed to end. A human should not last this long. A human should not defy him in front of his guards. He slammed his fist against the arm of his throne. "Enough." His voice boomed across the pit. The guards froze. The beast stopped, growling low. The human stood in the center, chest heaving, sword dripping with blood. He swayed on his feet, but he still stood. The Baron rose, his cloak sweeping behind him. His voice was sharp as a blade. "You will not die by beasts or soldiers. You will die by my hand." The arena fell silent. The girl's breath caught. Her heart nearly stopped. The Baron himself was coming. The black-cloaked figure leapt down from his throne, landing in the pit with a crash that shook the ground. He stood tall, his eyes glowing with fury. His hand stretched and a weapon formed, an energy blade burning bright. The human straightened, gripping his sword tighter. His body trembled, but his gaze never wavered. The girl's chest tightened with terror. The Baron was stronger than any soldier, faster than any beast. No prisoner had ever faced him and lived, and now the human would. The Baron's voice was cold, deadly. "You think yourself strong? You think you can stand before me?" The human raised his blood-stained blade. His voice was raw but steady. "I don't think." "I know." The Baron's eyes narrowed. The air crackled with energy. The girl clung to the bars, her heart pounding louder than the crowd's silence. She wanted to look away, but she could not. The arena had become more than a game. It had become a battlefield between cruelty and hope. And as the Baron stepped forward, energy blade humming, the human stood ready, alone, bloodied, but unbroken. The pit was silent. Dust hung in the air like smoke after a storm. The Baron stood tall, his energy blade glowing with a deadly hum. The human faced him, battered and bleeding, his sword trembling in his grip. Above, the guards leaned forward, eyes wide. None had ever seen their master fight inside the arena. To them, the Baron was untouchable, a god in flesh. The alien girl pressed her face against the bars, her breath quick and sharp. Her body shook with fear, but inside her chest something fierce had taken root. She whispered under her breath, "Please, win." The Baron raised his weapon. "You have entertained me enough. Now, human, I will show you despair." He struck first. The energy blade cut through the air faster than lightning. The human barely raised his sword in time. Sparks exploded as steel met burning light. The force threw him back, his feet scraping across stone. His arms shook from the impact. The Baron moved again, his strikes precise and merciless. Each swing could have killed him. The human blocked, dodged, stumbled. His wounds burned, his lungs screamed for air, but he did not fall. The girl's heart pounded with every clash. To her it was like watching the stars themselves collide. The Baron's voice dripped with scorn. "You fight, but you are nothing. A worm from a forgotten world. You cannot stand against me." The human spat blood on the ground. His voice was hoarse but unbroken. "Then why do I still stand?" The Baron's eyes narrowed. His blade came down harder, faster, each strike shaking the pit. The human sword cracked under the force. A piece of steel flew off, clattering across the arena floor. The girl's stomach twisted. "No." The human staggered back, clutching what remained of his blade. The Baron's smile returned. "Your defiance ends here." He raised his glowing weapon high for the killing blow, but the human moved first. Instead of blocking, he stepped forward. The energy blade cut across his side, burning flesh, but he pushed through the pain. With a roar, he drove the broken sword deep into the Baron's shoulder. The Baron's cry shook the arena. The energy blade flickered. For the first time, he bled. Gasps echoed from the guards above. The human ripped the blade free, stumbling back. His voice rang out raw and fierce. "You are not a god. You are just another jailer." The Baron's face twisted with fury. Power crackled around him, the air trembling. "You dare—" Before he could finish, the girl did something she had never done in 13 years. She screamed, "Fight him! Don't stop!" Her voice cut through the silence. The human's head turned for just a moment, and their eyes met. For 13 years she had lived in chains, silent, hopeless. But now, in that second, her voice carried more strength than steel. He gripped his broken sword tighter. His body swayed, but his eyes burned brighter than ever. The Baron charged again. Their blades clashed, sparks and light exploding in the air. The ground cracked beneath their feet. The human ducked, twisted, struck. The broken sword cut shallow wounds into the Baron's cloak and flesh. Every strike was desperate, but every strike carried purpose. Still, the Baron was stronger. With one final swing, the Baron sent the human flying across the pit. He crashed into the wall, stones crumbling around him. Blood smeared across the floor as he struggled to rise. The Baron stalked forward, his blade glowing brighter. "It ends now." The girl's chest clenched. She could not breathe. Then something strange happened. The human pushed himself up and looked not at the Baron, but at the walls. The cracks, the torches, the gates. His eyes scanned quickly, and then he smiled through blood. The girl frowned. Why was he smiling? The human moved fast. Instead of rushing at the Baron, he sprinted toward one of the gates. His broken sword struck the lock, sparks flying. The gate burst open. The beast inside roared and leapt, not at the human, but at the nearest soldier. Chaos exploded. The guards above shouted in panic. Beast tore free, soldiers clashed. The arena became a storm of screams and fire. The human darted through the chaos, swinging, dodging, turning the Baron's own games against him. The Baron roared in fury. "Stop him!" The girl's heart leapt. He wasn't fighting to win the Baron's game. He was fighting to break it, open her cell. The human shouted over the noise, her eyes widened. "Me? Yes." His voice was fierce. "We leave together." Her hands shook. She had never tried, never even thought of it. But now the chance was here, burning like fire in front of her. She grabbed the bars, pulling, yanking, searching for weakness. The guards were too busy fighting the beast to stop her. She shoved a stone loose, her fingers bleeding as she tore at the cracks. The human fought his way toward her. The Baron cut down beast in rage, but the chaos slowed him. Dust and blood filled the air. Finally, the girl's chain snapped free. Her cell door groaned, then burst open. For the first time in 13 years, she stepped beyond the bars. Her legs shook. The air outside the cell felt unreal. But she moved, stumbling toward the human. He grabbed her hand, pulling her close. His voice was low but firm. "Run!" Together, they raced through the tunnels. The fortress shook with alarms. Guards shouted, beasts roared. The Baron's voice thundered behind them. "You cannot escape me!" But they did not stop. Their footsteps echoed through the stone halls. For the first time, the girl felt the wind of freedom on her face, even if it was filled with dust and smoke. The human's grip on her hand was strong, unbreakable. For 13 years, she had been a prisoner. Now she was running beside him. But as they reached the hangar, their path froze. The Baron stood there waiting, his cloak torn, his blade burning brighter than ever. His eyes glowed with pure hatred. "You thought you could steal from me?" he growled. "You will not leave this place alive." The girl's chest tightened. Behind her was the prison. Before her was the Baron, trapped between chains and wrath. The hangar was vast, filled with the smell of fuel and smoke. Ships rested on landing pads, their silver hulls glowing in the dim light. For a heartbeat, the alien girl thought freedom was only steps away. But then the Baron stepped forward. His cloak dragged across the ground, torn but still heavy with power. His energy blade burned brighter than fire, humming with deadly force. His eyes locked on the two fugitives with fury so sharp it froze the air. "You dare run from me?" His voice thundered through the hangar. 13 years I kept you alive, and this is how you repay me? You will crawl back in chains or die where you stand." The girl's legs shook. She had never faced him so close without bars between them. Every part of her wanted to fall, to beg, to surrender. That was what survival meant in the Baron's world. But then she felt the human's hand tighten around hers. His grip was steady, strong. She looked at him, bloodied and broken, yet standing tall. His eyes burned with fire that chains could not kill. For the first time in her life, she did not bow her head. The Baron raised his blade. You are nothing. The human lifted his broken sword. Then nothing is enough. He pushed the girl back. Find a ship, start it. Don't look back. Her throat tightened. I can't. You can, he said. His voice was raw, but it carried a weight stronger than stone. You've already stepped out of the cell. Now finish the walk, her heart pounded. She wanted to argue, but there was no time. The Baron charged, the human met him head-on. Steel and energy clashed, sparks raining across the floor. The sound echoed through the hangar like thunder. The girl stumbled toward the nearest ship, her hands shaking as she searched for the controls. She had never touched such machines before, but freedom was close enough to taste. Behind her, the clash of battle raged. The Baron struck with fury, his blade cutting the air like lightning. Each blow forced the human back. His broken sword cracked further, splintering under the heat. But the human refused to fall. He dodged, parried, struck back. Every move cost him blood, but every strike carried defiance. You cannot win, the Baron snarled. His voice shook the walls. I am power, I am law. I am eternal. The human spat blood, his chest heaving. Then you will fall eternal. He lunged forward, slashing across the Baron's chest. The cloak tore, sparks flying as the blade struck. The Baron roared in rage, swinging wildly. The girl glanced back, terror clawing at her chest. The human was fast, but the Baron was stronger. If he fell, everything ended. Her eyes landed on the ship's control panel. Lights blinked, switches glowed. Her trembling fingers pressed, pulled, flipped. The engines rumbled, coughing awake. The sound filled the hangar. A chance. The Baron turned his head for a fraction of a second toward the ship. That was all the human needed. He slammed his shoulder into the Baron, forcing him back. The broken sword struck again, digging into the wounded shoulder from before. The Baron howled, staggering. The human shouted over the roar of engines. Now get it ready. The girl's hands moved faster, guided by instinct and desperation. The ship's doors hissed open, lights glowing bright. The engines roared louder, filling the air with smoke and fire. The Baron's fury exploded. You will not leave me. His blade slashed across the human's chest. The man staggered, blood spraying. The girl screamed his name, though she had never known it. But he did not fall. He gripped the Baron's wrist, forcing the energy blade aside. Their faces were inches apart. 13 years, the human growled, his voice raw. She was your prisoner, not anymore. With one last roar, he drove the broken sword deep into the Baron's chest. The Baron's scream shook the hangar. Light exploded from his blade as it shattered. His body convulsed, eyes wide in disbelief. Then with a final gasp, the mighty Baron fell to his knees, and the chains of 13 years fell with him. The human collapsed to the ground, gasping for breath. The girl ran to him, tears streaming down her face. You can't stop now, she begged, pulling at his arm. The ship is ready. We have to go! He coughed, blood on his lips, but a faint smile touched his face. Then go, be free. No, she whispered, shaking her head fiercely. Not without you. Never without you. Her hands grabbed him, pulling, dragging with every ounce of strength she had. Step by step, she brought him to the ship. Alarms blared through the fortress, guards shouting in panic. But the Baron was gone, and fear spread faster than orders. The hangar doors opened. The ship lifted from the ground, engines blazing. As the stars filled the window, the girl collapsed beside the human. Her chest heaved, her eyes wet with tears. She stared out at the endless black sky, dotted with lights that seemed brighter than anything she had ever known. Freedom. She turned to the human. His body was broken, but his eyes still burned with life. For 13 years, she whispered, her voice trembling. I thought hope was dead. But you gave it back. He reached out, his hand weak but steady, resting against hers. Don't waste it, he murmured. Live. She gripped his hand tightly, refusing to let go. We lived together. The ship soared into the unknown. Behind them, the Baron's fortress burned, his reign shattered. Ahead, the stars stretched forever. For the first time in 13 years, the alien girl was not a prisoner. She was free. And beside her, a human had proven what the galaxy had forgotten. Humans do not kneel.